everybody, welcome back to the continuation of episode 2 of the Echo Leadership Podcast. My name is Andy Wood, and I'm your host. I'm so excited to continue our conversation about a very important leadership subject of credibility. When COVID-19 hit in March of 2020, I started taking note of the way that different leaders responded, and I noticed that there were some leaders who gained credibility and others who destroyed it. We said in the first 2 episodes, which, by the way, if you didn't get a chance to listen to, I want to encourage you to go back. We said that it takes decades to build credibility and days to destroy it. In fact, I put this idea in juxtaposition to the phrase that people say, cash is king. A lot of people have been saying that. I think that entrepreneurs need cash flow. It's very important for the organization, but I would choose credibility over cash if I could only choose one. I'd like to have them both. But if I had to choose one, credibility is significantly more important. So we've been dialing into how do you build it and how do you destroy it. Today, I want to talk to you about 2 practical ideas, number 3 and number 4 of our list of 8 of how you can either build or destroy. So number 3, the third way to destroy your credibility as a leader is to rely on confidence alone for your decisions. Rely on confidence alone for decisions. I'm going to guess that one of the things that makes you great as a leader is your confidence. Most great leaders, they have a high level of confidence, or at least they exude a high level of confidence. The larger you lead, or the larger the organization is that you lead, the more confidence can become a liability and not an asset. So when you're starting off and you're young, your confidence actually can help push you forward. But if you get to a place where what you're leading is way beyond your capacity in the sense of you're relying on multiple high capacity team members, there are multiple layers between you and the front lines of the organization, that your confidence can become a liability. And when you make decisions out of your confidence alone and you make the wrong decision, you instantly lose credibility in the eyes of the people on your team. So let's talk about what are the good things that we should rely on? Well, number 1, we should rely on knowledge. Accurate information is very important. So I have data, reality, experience, all of these play into knowledge. That knowledge plays into wisdom, which is the application of the knowledge that you have. Wisdom is based upon principles that are timeless. That timeless nature of the principle can lead us as leaders to practical, timely solutions. Wisdom is of utmost significance. Your team around you, especially the team that you've assembled that are experts in their areas, are super important for big decisions. Wise counsel of people who've gone before you, who are beyond your capacity as a leader. And then godly wisdom. I would say for me as a leader, the most important source of wisdom is God. As a pastor especially, who would want to follow a pastor that wasn't following God? And I've learned that God wants to be intricately involved, I believe, in the decisions that I make as a pastor, as a leader. And at the same time, I want to just put a caveat in here because many pastors play the God card a whole lot. In fact, I think that the God card can be a form of laziness where a pastor just says, well, God told me. I mean, who's going to argue with God told me to do this? You put numbers on your vision or years on it, and then all of a sudden, God told me, well, we got to do it then if God told you that this is what we're supposed to do. I'm not saying that God can't tell a leader what to do and that there should never be a sense of God's leading us in this direction. I just think as a leader, you got to be super careful how often and when you throw that God card down, to be mindful of you're a false prophet if God told you to do something and it doesn't come true. So be careful of the God card. But there are a lot of different aspects of leadership that we can rely upon that are a good foundation and not our confidence alone. And then our timing with decisions also is incredibly important. I said in previous episodes, I've really been into The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. I love how Jordan, at the end of the game, he wants the ball in his hands, or he did want the ball in his hands. He wanted to be the one taking the shot. He knew the timing for the shot. And the right decision, when it's not made at the right time, it becomes the wrong decision. As a leader, we want to cultivate the kind of decision making that we're making the right decision at the right time. And a part of what helps a leader do this is prioritization of the mission. So prioritization, the more you prioritize the mission, the more people will trust your decision as a leader, and you'll grow in credibility. I remember when the crisis first hit in March of 2020, we were in an executive meeting when the shelter-in-place order was sent out, and we stayed in the room for 7 hours. We got big stickies and put them up all over the room. We reorged everything. I can actually still see the stickies all over the room I'm in right now. We gave new assignments to people. We put new objectives in place. We did all this in 7 hours, which was just a pure act of amazing focus on our team's part. But at the beginning of that conversation, we wrestled through, again, why are we here? And we restated our mission. This is why we exist as an organization. That clarity of the mission. And when people can trust you as a leader to make decisions through that lens, over time, you'll gain credibility. Even at times when you're making the decision about the mission in a way that is not what's easiest or even best for that person, but you're prioritizing the mission, you're going to gain credibility. So that's number 3. Rely on confidence alone, and you will destroy your credibility as a leader. Number 4, this is a big one. We could probably spend an hour on this, but it's to make self-promotion the goal of your position. You ever been around a leader like that who is all about, number 1, promoting themselves? Patrick Lencioni wrote a new book called The Motivation, where he talks about the motivation of a leader. And I think it's important to recognize when it comes to why we got into this, there are 2 types of people who are not right in their heart with their why. One group of people is the group of people that they started off with good intentions. I think a lot of pastors are like this. They started off with really good intentions, but over time, their motivation just got 1 to 2 degrees off. And then 1 to 2 degrees off year over year became a really far way off. And that motivation, that now the reason that they're doing it is for ease of life. Perhaps it's even for recognition from others, and their sincere desire to do the right thing, to be a great leader, to lead the mission forward. They're off of that, and people are not really interested in following them anymore because their goal of leadership is wrong. There are also people who start to lead for the wrong reasons. They got into it for the wrong reasons. They got into it for money. They got into it for fame. They got into it perhaps even to deal with some hole in their heart or some hurt from their past. I think it's important as a leader to wrestle through, why am I doing this? Why am I leading? Your motivation matters. John Maxwell says it like this. He says, leadership is as simple is adding value to other people. As you add, write this down. Unless you're driving, don't write it down, but just try to remember this. As you add value to others, you will add credibility to your leadership. As you add value to the people on your team, you will add credibility to your leadership. A lot of leaders are more concerned with getting validation than they are adding value. So here's a question. In leadership, are you more concerned with adding value or getting validation? Which one's driving you? When you wake up, when you post online, are you more concerned with the likes or are you more concerned with how it's helping other people? It's amazing how you can smell this, isn't it? Like when you get around a leader, you can tell why they're doing it. And over time, we'll start to follow somebody who's a self-promoter, but we're not going to stay with them. The substance of their character, we're going to look for a way out. So if we would do that, think about the people that follow you, that follow me. We want to be the kind of leaders that we're doing it for the right reasons. Jim Collins says that we should look out the window to give credit to others and look in the mirror to accept responsibility. That's a great principle for life, that as leaders, we want to do our best to give people the credit that they deserve. And I think that building a platform is a huge part of leadership, right? But when we ask people to help us build a platform, we have to wrestle through why. In fact, I'm going to talk about this in a future episode and one of our other points, that there's a difference between being unwilling and being unable. I'm staring at lights and camera and sound equipment, and I'm really unable to operate all this stuff. It's not that I'm unwilling, it's just that I'm unable. And if I started pressing buttons, I probably would break things and cost a lot of money to our organization. So I don't do that. But I'm willing to put in the time to build the content out. And some leaders, when we get into a place where we have more authority, we become unwilling to do certain parts of our job. The other thing I think we should consider is when we build a platform, do we let other people stand on it? And do we thank those who sacrificed for us to get to where we are? And when we build that platform, do we do it to impact people or do we do it to impress? When I was first in COVID-19, I was getting, for all of us, we were getting 1,000 emails a day and 20 webinars a week we were being invited to. And you could very quickly tell in wording who was doing this for the right reasons. As we wrap up this time, I want to ask you, why are you doing this? Your motivation, your reason behind leading is either building or destroying your credibility as a leader. Thank you so much for listening to this part of episode 2. We're excited to continue our conversation as we talk about idea 5 and 6 and how to continue to build credibility as a leader. We hope you will join us for the next episode.